everyone. Welcome to Community Homeworks. Hi, where we hope to empower our neighbors to maintain safe, sustainable, and dignified homes. Today's workshop is the Lunch and Learn. We are learning with Mr. Harry Jackham how to replace an interior light. Please grab some food over to your left. We have all sorts of snacks and drinks, and we have some chicken from Midtown Fresh Market. The bathrooms are up to your left if you follow up the ramp. Let's see. Oh, if you have a question, since we are streaming live onto our YouTube channel, please grab the mic so that we can pick up your audio. It's thus. And yeah, I'll let Harry take it away.
You want to come down here because this way you're going to be able to see a whole lot better.
Enjoy.
But, that's fine. And while you're doing that and grabbing your food, I'll just say, if anybody was here, I don't think anybody was here from last month when Mr. Harry decided to put the wrong date in his calendar and didn't show up. Basically, it was dealing with how to replace an exterior light fixture. And about the only difference between an interior light fixture and an exterior light fixture is one's inside and one's outside. It's just that simple. So it's not, anyway. So here we are. It's going to be a relatively simple thing today. So there's going to be time you want to just grab in some food. And absolutely anywhere you feel like stopping me for a question, or at the end of it you have other questions. And even if it's about anything electrical, anything that's about plumbing, anything in your home, I'll be happy to answer it. And I'll even give you a good answer or one that I make up. It doesn't matter. I'll just make it work for you. But that's the way it goes. Interior light fixtures are usually in the ceiling or on a wall. Okay? It doesn't matter. They're all basically the same. And what connects the light fixture to the wall, if it's put on properly, is it's either in a metal box like this, if it's an older home, or plastic boxes like you see over here on this wall. First thing, if you're going to do any kind of electrical work in the house, I don't care what it is, the first thing you've got to do is turn off the electricity at the panel. Either you flip the breaker, or if you have the old fuses, turn the fuse out. Even though you've turned the breaker off, or if it's a light fixture and you say, oh, I'll turn the light switch off, there may not be electricity going to it, but then again, there just may be electricity going to it. Test it. This little critter here, you can pick those up for about $5 at some of the home improvement stores. It's a contactless electric tester, and you can see just by pushing the button, I'm going to go over here near the outlet, you can see it tells you without even touching it that there's electricity going through. It's a handy thing, and it'll save you. Shocks are not that fun. It's called a contactless or non-contact electric tester. Well, you can put it there, you can look at it and see what it looks like. Any of the big box stores will have them. Most hardware stores will have them. Even Harbor Freight, which is, kind of a discount place. I have had a couple of the Harbor Freight ones, and they usually work. Keep in mind, I said usually work. Okay, so you're going to take down an old light fixture. I didn't bother putting one up yet, but it's easy to take something off. Light fixtures, if they don't have the strap, can you see? I'll try and get that. You let me know where I got to do for the, okay. It's usually in the box some way. Sometimes it's round, and sometimes it's this little strap here. This is what will hold the fixture to the box that's in the wall or in the ceiling. I like kind of showing it here because it's easier for you to see. Besides that, working overhead, the shoulders kind of want to give out too. All right, so it's real simple how to make a connection. And I hope if you can see this. If not, feel free to come up here. The fixture will come with usually 3 wires. If there's more than one light in the fixture, you might have more black and white wires, but they're usually connected together. If they come where there's no conductor showing, you have to strip away a little of the insulation. Best thing to use is a wire stripper. And the wire stripper will come and have numbers on it. And they deal with the wire gauge. Usually you get about 16 gauge wire on a light fixture. Pull the insulation off a little bit, give it a twist before you pull it totally off. It's a lot easier that way. You'll have a white wire and a black wire. While I'm doing this, I'll say that the black wire is called the hot. That's where the electricity comes from your box. The white wire is neutral, and that's where it returns. And a green wire, or oftentimes it won't even have insulation at all, it'll just be simply a bare wire, that's for the ground. I explain a little more about hot, neutral, and ground in the electric systems class. But if you have any questions about what they are or how they work, just let me know at the end and we'll discuss it. Okay. I'm going to put the strap, come on. And typically there'll be a strap that will come with the fixture, but if you already have one from an old fixture, keep it. So it's not worth changing. Now the fixture I brought here uses a tube to hold it in place. It's a threaded tube, 3/8 inch pipe thread. That you don't have to remember, it's not important. Sometimes you'll find that they'll have 2 screws coming through the strap with the points coming out. And that way the light fixture is held in place with little small nuts, usually little thumb nuts. Usually the ones that I end up dropping an awful lot when I'm trying to work on it because I got big, ugly hands. So I'll just go ahead and put this in place. And depending on the configuration of the screw, it's either going to have a Phillips head, which is cross point, or a flat head. And just make sure it's tightened down. And again, if it's in place, you're in good shape. However, if the fixture that you took out has a tube connector and it goes to the screws that are holding it in place, you'll probably have to replace the strap. That's simple. To connect the wires together, black goes with black, white goes with white. Just keep that in mind. You may occasionally in the house find that it's red and white. Red is black, just that simple. A little too much wire coming here out of the wall. I'm going to clip it off. I like to, before I put any wire nut on it, twist them together. And I prefer using a pair of pliers to help with that. And I'm going to hope that I can do this at the angle I'm working at. It just aids in keeping the wires together a little better. And then I'm going to clip it. There's a little extra. And place a wire nut on it. Wire nuts will usually come in a little package with a new fixture. And you just turn that in place. Hold it in place, give it a good turn, and tug on it to make sure that you actually got the connection right. Yeah. Righty tighty, yes, that's typically unless you're into some special situation. Yeah, see? And when I was teaching high school guys, I had some weird kids. I always tell them, what's left, you just, look at your hand. Your left hand makes an L. And then I always told them, well, that's you too. All right. Thing about wire nuts too, they come in different colors, and colors deal with sizes. You can see there's a different size with these two. Bigger they are, the more wires you can put under them. If you're going to go out and get wire nuts, so I keep these with my electric stuff. These are relatively new on the market. They've been, maybe the last 10 years, they're beige color, and they're called twisters. They'll take various sizes. They're really quick, easy to use. Just a little point. I'm going to do the same thing here with the white wire too on this. Same thing I did. Now I'll just talk about the ground once I get to that. Stranded wire is typically with the light fixture, and it tends to be a little harder to put together with the solid wire.
Can I use this mic, you think, or maybe? So what do you do when like the stranded wire starts to fray? Do you have to keep trimming it?
That's a good question. Yeah. Actually, I did that before I started the demonstration. These wires did have fray. All I did was just cut them off. Okay. Just clip off a little bit. So you start off from scratch. And obviously, we did have plenty of wire to play with here. So, all right. So we now have power. If I were to switch on power to this, which obviously I can't do because it's a dummy, I could turn on the light. It would work. And it should be relatively safe. But for safety's sake, we have ground. And just briefly about ground and neutral and hot wires. If I were to open up the breaker box over there, you would see that there's a line of metal strip with several screws in it. And there'll be two of them, one on each side. Sometimes they're placed a little different. One is where you would put the white wires when you're starting to do the wiring of the house. The other side is where you'd attach the ground wires. But if you look closer into the panel, you'd see that they are connected together. Ground and neutral tend to be the same. If you look outside a house, particularly a house that has overhead wires bringing electricity in, you'll usually see two wires that are black insulated and one bare wire. Sometimes that one's even insulated. The two wires that are coming in give us 120 volts each. The other one is neutral. That's called the return. The idea being with ground is if for some reason the hot wire should bear and touch the metal and touch the metal that's on your fixture, you could end up getting a shock from that. With the ground, it would short the circuit out, break the breaker or blow the fuse, and give you that safety edge. Now remember I said white and neutral, or white and ground going to the same place in the breaker box. That's why you'll see so many appliances that come with, there's two prongs on the plug. One's a little thicker than the other. And on your plugs, one slot's a little thicker. That's a way of making safety for an item that doesn't have a ground to it. So let's go on. I'm going to finish up getting this in place. There's a ground wire. The ground wire will go around a green screw that's on the strip. And it's a little easier to do at other times, but that's okay. Nothing's easy about electrical. And while I'm While I'm at it, I probably should say that you want to be careful because typically when you cut the wire with a pair of wire cutters, it cuts it in kind of a V shape, and that V shape's got a little bit of got an edge to it, and typically you'll could end up getting some cuts. And I'm going to screw that ground wire tight to the strip. I drew up there on the whiteboard kind of a screw, if you will, and show you that when you put wires on a screw, whether it be a ground wire or one of the supplies of the neutral, you put it so that the hook of the wire, or in this case, the twist of the wire, goes in kind of a clockwise direction. So when you turn the screw, it pulls the wire in, rather than if you went the opposite way, it tends to throw the wire off. And then just like before, I'm going to put the ground wire from our fixture onto the ground wire that came out of the wall. If you're in an older home and you don't have the ground wire, well, there's not much else you can do about it. You just end up kind of clipping off or taking the ground wire from the fixture, capping it, and pushing it into the box. Same thing, want to use it, yeah. If I were just not going to do this, I'd just put the cap on the bare end. When it comes down to the fun part, stuffing the wires into the box is where it gets to be a little fun. I've found in my years of doing this that if you accordion the wires, kind of give them a little bit of an accordion-like bend, they'll go in a lot easier. The ground wire is kind of off to the side. I push that away from the other two wires. Shouldn't matter, but just a little something I do. Stuff the wires in. Now this one, as I said, has a small tube on it. That goes in a hole. Fun part's finding where it goes back into the strip. Yeah, it's going to fight me today, isn't it? You'll find that's very true too. And if you think this one's going to be difficult, there's a good reason why I didn't bring one that had the two studs that come out, because they're even more, they usually can cause a few bad words. There we go. And you would just tighten it up to where it fits up against the wall or the ceiling. And that's about as simple as it gets to change a fixture, just that way. And so I said it was going to be an easy one today. If there are any questions, I mean, and again, I got lots of time today. Yes.
I've got lots of questions, unfortunately, because I've done a few myself at home, and I've come across one problem is it's not flush against the ceiling. Like, what would cause that? Like
Is the box or something twisted?
Yeah, it's a little twisted. It's an old house, and I don't think they installed it very well.
Well, if the box or the strap that holds it in place or any of those are a little bit twisted, that's probably where you're going to get the fixture that wants to sit not flush with the ceiling. If you can reach up with a pair of pliers or a screwdriver and try and straighten it out, that might help.
And bend the bracket a little.
Yeah, the bracket that's holding it. Anything that you can do to try and get that bracket, that strip that goes across, flush with the ceiling and level?
Okay. Yeah.
Those are kind of questions that each one has its own different answer to it, depending on
Yeah.
what's there. You're on TV now.
Okay,
It's
so
a
I
big,
have
big deal.
a quick question. So this one here, this is interior, correct?
Correct.
And is it the same concept for exterior?
Yep. In fact, that's what I just said. The biggest difference between interior and exterior light is one's inside and one's outside. It's basically that simple. I mean, you shouldn't put one like this outside because it's not designed to be used outside.
Okay.
Or an exterior light has got the right seals and so on.
Okay. So a few months ago, I was able to disconnect the ones outdoors. So I took them all down, cleaned them up really good. They were white, and I spray painted them all black, and I put them back up.
And they look good?
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
And they work?
They work. Yes. Yes.
That's
It
two
has
biggest things. They
holes.
look good and they work. That's it. Yeah.
Yes. And then another question. So I'm in the process of, because I have like a chandelier in the bathroom with the 1, 2, 3. So would that be the same thing if I were to remove that light fixture?
1, 2,
It
3.
has 3.
Oh, three out.
It
Three.
has 3
Three lights.
little lights on
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing is, like this one had a white and a black wire.
Okay.
That one probably has 3 black and 3 whites,
Gotcha.
and they're usually already put together. But if they're not, you just put the 3 of them together and put that on there, and it's the same thing.
Okay.
I mean, if you have 10 lights, it's just going to be 10 wires coming up to it.
Okay. So when I purchase a new one, just use the same wiring and everything
Right.
for that. Okay.
And if you get a new one, whether it has 1 light or 6 lights, whatever, it'd be the same principle. All works the same.
Okay.
And it should only have 1 ground, and usually the ground's connected someplace to the metal on the. It's not typical that you'll find more than 1 ground.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, it's okay.
Yes.
We got time, so let's
This
do
is-
it. This is the way I like to run a
This is
class,
hot topic
honestly.
for me. Okay, so I have installed ceiling fans before. Now, is it possible? Currently, in our bedrooms, we just have a regular light fixture. Could we replace it with a ceiling fan? And how do you know that's possible?
That's a real good question because we did a ceiling fan one here a few months ago. The answer is yes, but probably no. Because here's the thing. Ceiling fans weigh a lot.
Yeah.
And they got a motor in there, so there's a lot of vibrations. And if it's a metal fixture like this one in the house, you have a better chance of it being safe than if it's a plastic fixture like you find in more modern homes. But even at that, there are metal ceiling fan boxes that have little thicker screws on them. Now, can you go ahead and do something about that? And the answer to that is yes. There's a lot of products on the market where you'll take like a hammer and a screwdriver or something and kind of push that box away from the ceiling. And these products will come in. There's a bracket. Well, there's several kinds, but basically it's a bracket that expands. You can push it up into the hole that you've just made, get it to go across the joists, and then with a wrench or pliers or whatever that particular model has, it causes that bracket to open, and it's got spikes at the end that go right into the joists. There are a few other products. Just kind of Google retrofit fan boxes, and you'll see there's dozens of different configurations, but they do work. Yeah, and I mean, there are some that are adapters. There are some that, if you're close to the joist, you can just kind of slip it on. You cut a bigger hole, slip it on there, and then you've got a big hole, obviously. There's a lot of ceiling, what do they call those? They fit up on the ceiling, and they kind of give a decorative and cover that hole. I've seen those at the big box stores all over. Yeah, you can generally put a ceiling fan up, but if you have a plastic box, definitely not. If you have a metal box, don't get the biggest, fanciest, hugest one you can find, you know. Yeah, I mean, and if it's in a bedroom, make sure the bed's kind of away from the fan, you know, just in case it does come down, you don't want to land it on you. You know. Okay, I'm a little sarcastic all the time, you know. Yeah.
So I have another question since we're talking about ceiling fans. So I have a ceiling fan in my bedroom and the light works, but the fan does not. So what could be the problem with that?
The fan doesn't go on at all?
No.
Okay. Typically, a ceiling fan has got two sets of conductors, one for the light and one for the fan motor. Have all those been connected to the power?
I'm not sure because the fan was already there when I purchased the home. So
Okay.
it's never worked since I've moved into the home.
When you have the light switched on and the light's working, is there a chain for the fan? And you've tried
I
pulling that?
pulled the chains. There's a switch on the light fixture itself. I split that and it's still not working.
All right, I tend to think that maybe the fan motor isn't connected to the outlet. Okay.
Okay.
And here's another thing that goes back to, you know, it would probably run into what you have too. If you're going to retrofit a fan, there's usually only one conductor coming up, a black and a white wire. In a home that's been prepped for a ceiling fan, there'll be a black, red, and a white. And that way you can have a switch to switch on the fan and not have the light on.
Okay. So what color are the connectors for the fan?
Be the same thing.
The
In the
same.
fan, most of the ones I've seen, there's a white and a black wire coming out for the light and a blue one for the fan motor.
The blue is the fan.
But that doesn't mean it's going to be blue. It could be purple. It could be
So
gray.
any color besides black
It'd
and
be a
white?
different color than black and white.
Okay.
And then, you know, if you go home and you look at it and you say, well, wait a minute, he's wrong. Well, I mean, you know, it could be any color. It might be red. But most of the fans I've installed, the conductor or the wire for the motor is blue.
Okay.
And if you do retrofit, and you get one of these fans that comes with a remote control, which is really easy because you can connect it in the house, you can either have the switch on all the time and then just use remote control to control everything. Or what I did in the last house we lived in, I took the light switch out and I just wired another so there's always electricity going up to the fan box. And then I just used the remote control and mounted that on the wall.
Okay. So it has the remote, and I tried changing the batteries and everything in the remote. Still doesn't work.
Okay, then you're in good shape if you got a remote. My guess is either the wire was never connected for the motor
Okay.
or it came loose.
So I need to take it apart and find out.
Yeah. And, you know, you dealt with ceiling fans. My suggestion is, in fact, that's even for any kind of a light fixture to put up, take as much of the material off as you can, like the blades and the light fixture, and anything you can, because it makes it a little lighter to hold on to.
So remove the blades before taking
It just makes it
Okay.
easy. You don't have to, but if you're up there trying to do this and you got blades all over, you know, and again, I was never easy, but now at my age, my shoulders don't want me to do that anymore. So yeah, did that answer your question, I hope?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? You're looking like,
I don't have a question, I just have a small request.
okay.
So we have a young man here that came, a little late, but is wondering if after he goes up, if you could just show him what these are restricted hours.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll be more than happy to do that, sure. Yeah, no problem at all. I mean, I'm here for the duration. You know. My wife doesn't get home until about 2:30, and I can just as soon stay here after that too. So, no, she's a wonderful person. I make jokes about her all the time. You know, some of you guys have heard some of them, but next month it'll be 51 years we've been married. So, I don't know how she put up with me that long, but you know, we just look at each other and say it's a miracle. You know? So. Okay, what was that? Oh, we. I do too. I do too. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been a while. We had a good time. We have two wonderful kids, and that's why we're here in Kalamazoo. I was in southeast. I lived in southeast Detroit area for all my life. And 7 years ago, the grandkids started coming, and Grandma says, "I'm going to move to Kalamazoo with the grandkids. What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, pack, I guess. You know, what else am I going to do?" And that's what we did, and we're here. And I really love Kalamazoo area. I love West Michigan, so it was worth it. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. And you know, I'll be here, and I'll work with anybody else. Whatever. I'm here. I'm here.
Well, congrats on your 51 years.
Oh, thank you.
Kalamazoo loves you too. So does Community Homeworks. Thank you everybody for joining. I hope you guys got plenty to eat. I also wanted to thank our sponsor for this month, Old National Bank. Just a reminder, we have another workshop tonight, Home Safety and Security, and tomorrow we start our green series. So we've got Intro to Gardening tomorrow at 6. So thank you everyone. Have a good day.